is no easy way to start this video because I have a lot of emotions and a lot of things to say about this book. So I'm just going to start it off by saying that I am wearing my Texaholic shirt, and I think that was quite clever of me. Hey friends, my name is Miranda. Welcome back to my universe. It's been a while, especially since I've made a book review video. I am back with another Stephen King book, favorite author, not so favorite book, but we'll talk about that. This right here is 11/22/63 by the notorious Stephen King. I really hope that if this video does anything, I hope it sparks up a conversation, a discussion, because people on Goodreads, YouTube, even Google rave about this book and say that, oh my gosh, this is my favorite Stephen King book. This is so well done. This really shows how great of an author he is. And I'm just sitting here like, did we read the same ending? Like, I'm genuinely curious. I just have big feelings and I want to talk about them. So if you disagree on anything, please comment down below. Do not hesitate. I want a discussion. I want to see if there's any disconnect between me and this book, or if there's something that I missed, because WTF, respectfully, of course. Sorry, Stephen King. Love you. You know I do. The first part of this video will be spoiler free, but once I actually get to a certain part of the video, I will let you know when I start spoiling. 11/22/63, if you couldn't tell by the title or the cover, is all about the JFK assassination. It is a fictional story about this man named Jake who finds this wormhole, but they call it a rabbit hole, that takes you back in time to 1958, 5 years prior to the president's assassination. He gets wrapped up in this whole conspiratorial, not heist because he's the only one in on it. He gets wrapped up in this sneaky business trying to figure out how he can stop JFK from getting killed. So the majority of this book, the 1,000 pages that it is all about Jake and his journey through the 1950s, early 1960s, as he prepares and tries to discover who, why, and how JFK was assassinated and how this all will affect history later on. I'm giving this book 3 stars. I wish I could give it lower, but the reason I am giving it a solid 3 right in the middle ground is because I have to have an appreciation for how much research Stephen King did going into this novel. He had to figure out all the details of JFK, what he was doing, what his wife was doing, on top of everything that Lee Harvey Oswald was doing. In this book, Lee Harvey Oswald is the one that attempts to kill JFK. So I know that there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there. In this book, that is what Stephen King stuck with. That is kind of the timeline that he decided to keep in this story. And we're not even talking about all of like the pop culture things that Stephen King had to research. Movies, music, references, prices of everything. I have to give him credit where credit is due. I also love the references in this book. There are lots of references to Derry, Maine, which if you know Stephen King like I know Stephen King, you're aware that Derry, Maine is where It by Stephen King takes place. That is one of my favorite novels by King. So the fact that there are references to some of my favorite, most beloved characters, that also got me really excited and kind of amped it up for me. I just felt so immersed in this book. I truly felt like I was in the 1960s. I was in Texas in the 1960s. It felt like I was time traveling too, which if it's a good book, it should be doing that. I loved the first 900 pages of this book, and that's when it went downhill drastically and rapidly for me. Overall, I liked it. I don't know if I would recommend it to everyone. That's what I want this discussion for, because so many Stephen King fans love this book and I don't. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Why do other people rate this book so highly when the ending completely undid so much of the book? That's all I will say in the non-spoilery section. because obviously I don't want to spoil those of you who don't wish to be spoiled. So now, let's get into my deeper thoughts. This is your spoiler warning. It was nice having you. Everybody who's staying, it's very great to have you. What the freaking frick, frack, tattly-whack was this ending? Someone explain. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll explain the ending for those of you who are here who haven't read it but don't care about spoilers. Jake, our main character, does stop Lee Harvey Oswald from killing JFK. However, during that time, girl he falls in love with gets shot and she dies. He ends up heartbroken, right? He stops the president from dying, but the love of his life is dead, and he's a mess, as anybody would be. He goes back to present day and sees that the world is an awful place now because JFK survived. I loved it because Stephen King absolutely dove headfirst into this world of like, okay, so JFK survived. What would happen next? You can look up more research on this, and you could even form your own opinions on this as well, as everybody does. But in this book, Stephen King basically made it so that the world is an awful, awful place. 3 of the Japanese islands are sunk in the ocean. There is a nuclear missile crisis. Everybody gets bombed, basically. There are terrible, terrible earthquakes. Oh, hi. Just so much destruction and war is going on when he goes back to 2011, which was the present day for this book. And I ate it up. Guys, oh my God. It was only like maybe 20 pages where you're in this just god-awful, soul-wrenching world where everybody is against each other. You can't even walk outside. There's a ton of people who get cancer from all of the acids in the air. It's like destruction. That is what I want. That is the Stephen King book I want. Live with your consequences. You stopped JFK. Live with those consequences now. But you know what happens? This is the part that gets me really fired up and really upset. He goes back in time, which if you read the book, every time you go back through the rabbit hole, you get placed at the exact same second, exact same day, every single time, no matter how many times you go back. So that means every time you go into the rabbit hole, there's a complete reset, and everything you had done in the trip prior gets erased, and you start over. So please explain to me what the entire point of this book was if the main character goes through all this effort and work to stop JFK from dying, only to go back in time again to erase all of that. The ending drove me crazy because of that. I said, okay, you're telling me you spent 900 pages building up this world, building up this beautiful culture of this is what it was like in the 1960s, and this is what Jake has to go through to try to figure out what the heck he has to do in order to stop the president from dying, and you're gonna erase all of that? You're gonna go back on all of that? You're telling me that I read all of this book. I spent months reading this book, guys. I sat with this book for so freaking long, and you are telling me that all of that is gone. All of it is gone now? He goes back in time, okay? But not to save JFK, oh no. To save the love of his life. To make sure that she doesn't die. And then he goes back to 2011, back to where you were at the beginning of this novel. Stephen King, you drive me crazy. I do understand all the deeper themes, you know, all of the past harmonizes. Truly can one person change the course of the world's history? What are the effects of everything? Butterfly effects, you know, dabbling with time travel, how that might look in a historic setting such as this. I get it. You can tell me, you can blabble on about the love and the romance, because this book really is a romance book. And I didn't know that, and it didn't really sink in until after I finished, and I was like, oh, the people who loved this probably really loved the romance, because at the very end, like, it's very heartwarming, you know, he gets to meet her finally in present day, and they get to have, you know, another dance together. But it's like, no! I feel like a little kid throwing a temper tantrum, but no, seriously, don't get rid of the lovey-dovey stuff. Get rid of that. I don't want that. Give me the post-apocalyptic. Give me the post-apocalyptic 2011. I would have so much rather the book end when the world is a disaster and everything is chaos. And then Stephen King could have taken that and made a sequel to this book of Jake trying to navigate this new world, this new America that he has created because of JFK's survival, and figuring out how to live in that. Because that's what I want. You don't have to give me all the lovey-dovey, smoochy, I danced with the girl that I'm in love with. I want war and vengeance and bombs and destruction and a world where everybody's falling apart and humanity is at its bare bones. Like, give me that. Please, Stephen King. Why? Why must you wrench my heart out of my body like this? I just look at this and I think I read all of this just for it to disappear. That's my biggest issue, really. So please, if you have thoughts, feelings, anything of the sort of this book, the ending, things that could help me be at peace with this story, please comment it down below, because I don't know how. I'm still processing, as you can tell. What is the point of this book? What is the point of 11/22/63? Someone please explain, because I have no idea. All right, thank you for listening to my ramblings. I hope you all have a great day. If you have read this book, I do hope you enjoyed it. Because if you did, then we can talk about it some more. But I'm going to go pick up another Stephen King book and drown my sorrows in it. So I love you so much. Please be safe, make good choices, and I will definitely see you next time. Bye.